Hey, what's up all you crazy cats? Welcome back to another devlog for NahWare. Going to be doing things a bit different again. I think every episode has me doing something a bit different, but today is going to be radically different. Maybe not, but we'll see. Starting off, I decided to change the code for the minigame selection. Due to the true random chance of selecting games, there was a good chance you were going to get the same minigame multiple times in a row, leading to some slight discomfort. Instead, I decided to make the game selection system more of a one and done in a queue sort of thing, where out of the selection of possible games, one game is picked and then it can't be picked again until the entire selection has been run through. So I whipped up the code in a few minutes and then it didn't work. So I changed the code and continued trying to figure out why it didn't work. Eventually, because I realized that the selection process was in a while loop, checking to see that while the game selection is false, that because the first selection of the array is a 0, and a 0 is a false declaration in a boolean, that whenever the first game was selected, the game was false, and so it would not be able to select that game. So instead, because game was being set to -1 in the intermission stage, I just set it so that while game is less than 0. After that extraneous headache and annoyance, I was talking to somebody who was like, oh man, that's such a shame. GameMaker doesn't have like array shuffling? And it does. So I will be replacing all of the code that I made with like one line of array shuffle, because not only is that much more optimized, but it is also going to be better for when the different categories of games or realms are in place. So I spent way too much time on that and got nothing from it. I decided to instead work on a new minigame. The first minigame that I worked on was a simple click and drag to align two circles sort of thing. The dragging game, I thought, is a pretty simple overview that could be expanded to many more things. For example, it could be dragging a bow string back and firing an arrow. Depending on where you pull it back to, it would hit a target or not. It could also be for dragging a hand to reach for an apple that's falling from a tree. Something like that. It was pretty easy to set up, and so I added some small quality of life things where wherever you clicked on the circle, it would stay that distance away from the center of the circle, because before it would just teleport the center of the circle to where the mouse was, and I wanted to keep the distance so that it would feel more natural. And I also added a little smoothing for the circle to move where the mouse is instead of being teleported around. Great, simple minigame. So I decided to add another one, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna challenge myself a little bit. And challenged I am. I was, and continue to be. The next minigame that I decided to add was a crank minigame, where you have a crank and you have to crank the crank. The crank minigame is kind of a silly thing, but I think that it could be a variety of different games as well. Like, instead of cranking to fill a bar, you could be cranking a steering wheel to steer off the road to make sure you don't hit somebody. Or to make sure you do hit somebody. The crank could also be used in a safe cracking minigame where you gotta sort of go to whatever digits the password is, or you gotta listen for clicks. That might be a bit too difficult for a quick-paced WarioWare type game though, so we'll see. So I added the handle and the axle and had to try and figure out how to make the crank be crankular. I added some pretty simple math and some tests, and I got the handle to move in a circular motion, which is great. That now I just have to figure out how to make it so that the player can do that instead of the math doing that. It was not that easy. Most of the code to do with moving relates to an object's origin of being X and Y, so I couldn't really use any of that. And I'm not really good at math or code. So what I ended up doing is I used most of the code from the dragging and then just made it so that if you move around in a circle, it kind of adds up. Oh, but whenever you do a full rotation of 360 degrees, it goes back to 0. Shit. Okay, I'll try to make it so that when you reach 360 degrees, there's a total value that is just added 360 when it gets back to 0. Oh, that's not working. So I did a few more tests, did a bit more hitting my head against a brick wall, so to speak. But eventually I came across the solution, thankfully. I was free from the torment of coding the crank. It was still very, like, loose and flopping around, but it's better than what it was. And I was talking with somebody who knows a bit more about coding, and I was like, how do I make it so that this stays on the track? And they were like, oh, what if you do it like this? And it's just like, oh my god, how are people good at this? But yeah, one crank, one drag minigame, a different algorithm, which I will then go back and modify some other small quality of life things. So that's the what I added in this update. Tune in next time when hopefully things go a bit smoother. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.